That covered.
1, 2, 3. How are we looking online? Everything okay? Perfect. Everybody on the board ready? Ready to go? Good evening, everyone. I have 6:30 on the clock. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to get this meeting started. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We had an executive session prior to this meeting to talk about legal and personnel matters. And there is a recording device at the dais for the purposes of taking minutes. We're also streaming and recording on YouTube.
I'd like to invite Garrick Weaver up to make a presentation.
And I'll just ask if that red light isn't pushed in. Let's get that going.
All right, thank you. I've never needed a microphone, so hopefully I won't now. My name is Garrick Weaver, 3172 William Road, Garnet Valley. I am one of the liaisons with the Rachel Cole Library, along with Angela Hordesman. I'm here tonight to talk about the library. And I'd like to start out with a quote by Dwight Eisenhower, and that is that libraries are the gateway to knowledge. I'd like to start out also with some questions. And I'll pose it to the supervisors. What is the flat amount that was given in 2000? Does anybody know what the flat amount that Bethel Township gave to Rachel Cole Library in 2000?
I do not know.
$2,000. Do you know what happened around 2017, 2018 with Rachel Cole Library? Anybody? Not meant to trick you, by the way.
No.
I think there was a referendum to get a library tax.
That was actually in 2006,
All right.
but thank you.
Oh, sure.
2017, 2018, we actually almost closed.
Oh.
2019 is when we were able to renegotiate our mortgage to get it down to 3.5% and spread it out to 30 years. In addition to that, we were able to secure a loan from a private citizen for $50,000, which kept us alive. And we just paid that off. So it just goes to show you what we had to do to stay in business. We also, over the last 9 years, quite frankly, our former director had some challenges with some of the townships because she pushed the townships to think differently. And she needed to. Whether we liked her as a person or not, she pushed the buttons that needed to be pushed. She held expenses very tight and kept us afloat. We are now in a place from a financial standpoint where we are able to start to think about the future. We currently have a board that has 2 CPAs, 1 procurement leader, 1 marketing executive, 2 township citizens of the year, not looking for that award, thanks, 2 educators, 1 HR leader, 2 business owners, and 1 strategy executive. I challenge you as a board to look at any of the boards that we have in this township, and you do not have that makeup. And the reason for that is because we have a variety of municipalities that are a part of our organization. We have been serving the community since 1979. And by the way, this presentation will be up on the Rachel Cole Library website under the finance section within the next couple of days. We were basically charged with supporting the community, but we were in a small space in Concord Elementary School. Today, we serve those 5 municipalities and we are 501c3. Our board structure ensures all communities have representation. Our mission is to improve the quality of life through learning, enrichment, and community connection. Next slide, please. And I'm paraphrasing some of these slides for brevity.
Thank you.
Yep. Our strategy plan is to build around serving a challenging population, embracing technology, and serving as a gathering place. Our population growth is 37% over 20 years, along with an increased demand for service. Digital resources continue to grow alongside traditional materials. Community feedback through 2 surveys in the past 5 years constantly show a strong demand for programs and events. Next slide. So why are we here? The library has undergone significant financial and operational improvements. Circulation currently exceeds, and this was going to be a question, but I kept you guys off the hook. It has increased with circulation and programming by 58%. We expanded to 7-day service and improved staff retention without an increase in the budget. Despite progress, funding challenges continue to limit our future investments. Next slide. We've had to delay some projects due to funding because it's been the physical thing to do. Several important maintenance projects have been deferred. We are making repairs instead of replacing aging systems. The bathroom renovation and facility upgrades remained unfinished. Delaying these investments increases long-term costs and risks. Fundraising efforts on next slide. Staff and the trustees work continuously to supplement public funding with events, appeals, sponsorships. For example, today we just got $1,500 for a summer program from a local business. We also have rentals, book sales, have generated a number of important revenue streams. Our current director has brought on new ideas, fresh ideas, and quite frankly, has brought on about $10,000 of new ideas and bottom line dollars. The fundraising, of course, helps close the budget gaps, but it cannot replace the sustainable funding. Long-term stability requires a balanced funding approach. Bethel Township support. Next slide, please. So Bethel has been a strong supporter in this library. Since I was asked to join the board, Bill especially, and Stephanie have played I'm not going to try to say Stephanie's last name, have been a tremendous partner to the library, giving us information, helping us understand things, and quite frankly, in one case, released about $11,000 that were actually being held from reoccurring funds that were just sitting in the account. And we have established a minimum to be in the account, which obviously allows us to have as much of the money possible. The township has improved funding processes and governance participation. One-time project support has made major improvements possible. For example, the siding project. And we appreciate the partnership and are seeking to build on it. The challenge is Bethel Township, I didn't know this, can't do as much in-kind support as Concord can, or some other townships because of some insurance regulations. For example, we can't have the snowplow for Bethel Township go over and do the snow plowing. It's not possible. It's not possible under the insurance. Bill had an idea, and that was to give Concord a bucket full of salt. Those are the kinds of things. We had a problem with a tree that we needed to have cut down. The township was able to negotiate with one of its vendors, and they can get an in-kind donation. But they facilitated getting that money. That saved us $1,500. So we don't forget the things that you all do besides that, besides the actual funds. Next slide, please. Pennsylvania recommends approximately $5 per resident in municipality library support. We are one of only 2 townships that does not meet that number. Now, in practice, if all 5 met that number of $5, we would be able to get some matching state funds. The reality is, even if Bethel Township were to go above the $5 from its current 366, Chadds Ford is the only township that would not be meeting that number. Why that is, I don't know, but what I can tell you is that they increased their funding by about 25% in response to their call for funding. Several neighboring municipalities meet or exceed the recommended level. You can see it up there. It is also going to be on the slide presentation that you'll have. The increased support would move us closer to that state funding benchmarks. And I have already asked Representative Williams, and I've also talked to, or making an appointment to talk to the person running Elizabeth Morrow to talk about this issue, because it's easy for one township to meet that number. When you have 5 townships, it's hard to do that. Next slide. The library is required, by the way, to maintain investments in materials and collections. So no matter what money we have to put certain money into material and collections. There's no question about that. If we don't do that, we are out of compliance. Residents approved the funding one time before, and our proposal allows them to do that again. So, next slide. We are asking permission to place a referendum before the Bethel voters in November 2026. There's option A and option B. Both would basically increase the funding that residents pay for. One would be for 5 years, one would be for 7 years. So shame on us. And from a fiscal responsibility, shame on us for not coming in the past 20 years to ask for more money. And the cost to residents is minimal when the impact to library services is meaningful. Next slide. Some of our major accomplishments. We have stabilized finances and successfully reduced debt obligations. We have increased our hiring and our benefits. We are not able to offer traditional state or county benefits to our employees. I'm an HR person. I can tell you offering no benefits and okay pay was a challenge. We had to think very differently, and I believe that we've done as best a job as we could for now. Thanks to 3 of the supervisors, they passed on a possible grant for us that will allow us to actually submit for salaries. It's only $10,000, but I can tell you, with $10,000, I can do a lot from a standpoint about other benefits and potentially even hiring some additional staff for our summer programs. Next slide, please. The library has evolved over the past 9 years, far beyond traditional book lending. But again, we're up. You'll see the numbers up there. We serve as a learning center, a gathering space, community resource. We fund little free libraries through books, both initial and ongoing. We also do a program called Laundromat Libraries, which is across the country. We also have done surveys to get people's feedback. We also provide books to the Chester County Prison. And you might say, well, why would you do that? It's a good way to get rid of books because they're happy to read any books that we have. Programming and technology and access to things have expanded substantially. We have achieved this growth while carefully managing expenses. Our director literally went up with her husband in a U-Haul to pick up a piece of equipment that we were able to get for free. Would have cost us about $3,000 to $5,000. I challenge anybody to ask a library director in this area if they've done that, including my mother, who's a librarian. Next slide. So, the program increases right here. Obviously, that talks a little bit about the program increases that we've done. Significant changes, about 50%, a little bit over that in that period of time. Next slide. Our current goals obviously are, kind of what I've been talking about. Go to that next slide. Our evolution over the last 9 years. Again, that's the same thing I was talking about. Next slide. So facility improvements, that's the full example of facility improvements. We have completed important improvements, including the children's library expansion and siding replacement. We used $0 on the children's library. Why? Because we didn't have the money. A citizen stepped up and gave us $200,000. His name's on that room, and it should be. But we are doing things physically to keep things in check. Financial management has improved the library's overall stability. However, bathrooms, HVAC, roofing, electrical costs remain major concerns. Sustainable funding will help us address these challenges before they become emergencies. Due to our funding relying on taxes, we are not able to get a traditional loan. So when people criticize Concord Township for quote unquote making money from the library on a building that they didn't use or they were no longer using, they had to give us the loan or we would not have had a library. Next slide. Oh, thank you. So in closing, we are asking for approval to let the residents vote on the question. This is not asking you as supervisors to make the decision. This is to put it on. We are asking for support from the board because we don't know the wording and language and things like that. So we want to work with the board on that, but we don't know the exact numbers. Besides what I've talked about, and that is roughly a $13,000 increase and roughly a $26,000 increase, which would work out to be approximately 11 cents per resident per month. And the 26,000 would be 22 cents per citizen per month. We believe that the community should have the opportunity to decide on the future investments of the library. And I want to end with a quote from Ronald Reagan, and that is, library is the delivery room for the birth of ideas, a place where history comes to life. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Pretty comprehensive. I'm going to ask for questions and comments from the board first, and then I'm going to invite the public. I had two questions. Do you believe your intent is to offer both option A and option B on the referendum?
That's a great question. No. The intention is to agree to the referendum and then discuss what's realistic, because one is a 5-year option and one is a 7-year option. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, we're going to come back guaranteed in 5 years. It's just, this is what we're projecting because we can do projections now because we have CPAs on board. Yeah, the HR guy can't do projections. And
I just doing the simple math on what we contribute now, adding 13,000 to that, that's roughly 50,000.
That is correct.
Which works out to about $5 a resident, which is the state requirement to start to receive match if every other municipality is compliant. Right. And we would now be able to go to Chatsworth Township and say, for the Delaware County portion of Chatsworth Township, it's now 4/5 are there. We just need you. So It will put some pressure on them. And I did click the little link to the library law of what that statewide match looks like. It appeared to me there's different tiers of funding, but generally speaking, if you were able to get all of your municipalities to be compliant, they could be funding you from somewhere between 80 cents to $1 per resident. Is that accurate? That's the way we interpret it, which is part of the reason why I've reached out to our elected officials it's a very complicated calculation. Right. We're trying to fully understand. Do you have an idea of I said two questions, I'm sorry. Do you have an idea of what the total number of residents are in all 5 municipalities? 40,000. 40,000. So this is potentially 30 to 40,000 additional. And by the way, we consistently are the #2 revenue source for the townships in terms of all of the townships that donate money to Rachel Cole Library, or not donate, but provide money. We are also the #2 by far user of the library. So we are consistently 25% and 25%. We need, this is something that I sat for 4 years and I've been talking to the board about doing. And when you look at 4 years of numbers and you can quite frankly put it into ChatGPT and ChatGPT pulls out all that information for you, it really speaks to it. And when you say we're talking about Bethel Township is the #2 in terms of the amount that we give And the amount that we use.
and the amount that we use and the number of library cards. So it's consistent across the board. The people that use the programming, everything is consistently, we are number 2, which makes sense because we are the second largest.
And the only issue I had a little bit with the way the information is presented is I know that we're looking at it as a per person, per capita increase, but residents are looking at their parcel impact.
Correct.
So there's a little bit of, in further discussions, we would tweak it a little bit, but.
Right. And that's the thing. And that's where we said that we need some support because it's transferring apples to oranges and we don't know how to do that. And that doesn't mean that we're not ready to sit down and look at the numbers. It's just because the calculations are different. And again, that's one of the reasons why I would love the state to be clear when it comes to multiple municipalities that support a library.
So if the referendum goes on the ballot and gets approved, if Chad's Ford doesn't approve an increase, you guys still aren't eligible for the funds?
We would not currently be able,
Every municipality has to be at that $5 mark for you to receive those funds.
at the current way it's written, yes. But going back and reinforcing it, the question to the state is how many libraries are in the situation like we're in? Because ours is somewhat unique in the fact that we represent, 5 municipalities. Good one. Thank you for that question. Other questions?
Other questions from the board or comments?
Yeah.
Does the public have any questions relative to this presentation?
Why would you agree?
Would you mind coming up and stating your name? Thank you.
Dave Miller. Why does there have to be 5 that the state has to match?
Good question. I don't know the answer, but when it was written, it was basically sat down and say, okay, the majority of libraries are single municipality, so it'll be easy for them to get the funds. It's not been easy for us because of the 5 municipalities, and
That sounds ass back.
I don't disagree with you, and that's why we've, without getting, involved in all the number of conversations, this is a conversation I have received a lot. It's a conversation I've reached out to Fred Williams about. It's a conversation I'm reaching with Elizabeth Morrow. I don't care who's our representative. The question is, somebody needs to sit down and explain this to us and understand why a 5 municipality library has to be the same thing as a single municipality library like Newtown or Marple Newtown. I'd love to have the answer.
How long ago was that written that way?
Well, I've been a resident since '99, and as far as I understand it, the referendum was an attempt to get us close in 2006, but it required all 5. So it was Bethel Township saying, this is what we're doing. Chad's Ford stepped up, Thornberry stepped up, Chester Heights has stepped up. So that's why they're asking us to do.
Mr. Miller, could I get your address?
1431 Arbor.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. I wish I had the full answer.
Any other comments on this?
Joe Connor, 3317 Parkway. Has any other township voted on this yet?
Quite frankly, Concord Township is at $11.66. Every other township has actually raised above the $5 minimum.
So we're the last ones.
Well, no. So Chad's Ford has not voted towards the $5. However, they have increased by about 25% in the past 3 years. Because they're the director at the time and their representative went in front of the board. Theirs is a allocation on top of a millage. So I will tell you that this is not a cure-all. We're not going to get the state funding because of it, but I will tell you it's going to put pressure on Chad's Ford because the state representative, the question is going to be, it's in their territory as well. So that's the point. There, quite frankly, the idea is that we need to step up, but we still need to keep the pressure on everybody else.
Yeah.
Yes.
Excuse me, did we get your address too, by the way? I don't recall.
3317 Parkway.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sorry.
I think you did. I just don't recall.
I'm 3 weeks out on my hip rebuild.
Well,
Okay, well, thank you very much, Mr. Wheeler. Appreciate it.
thanks, everybody.
Dr. Addison, Is the presentation still up? Or are we back? Are we on the agenda now? Perfect. So I think we're into the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from our regular meeting of May 2026.
And seconded, so motion made by Supervisor Iacono and seconded by Supervisor Derhinessian. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are on to the treasury report, Mr. Bars.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope you've had an opportunity to take a look at my report. Just a couple items to note that are included in the report. The township cash balance as of May 31st, 2026 is up almost $29,000 versus where we were a year ago. We currently, all township accounts total $7,364,266.59 1 year ago. All township accounts totaled $7,335,302.49. One of the carve outs within that cash is our general fund, which is about $4.2 million. We're down a little bit from where we were a year ago, about $139,000. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that. Good news, of the $4.2 million in the general fund, approximately $4 million of that we have invested in our Pliget accounts, mostly in our prime account, where we're getting the highest rates we can get at this time. The prime is at 3.73%. The class is at 3.44%. So 95% of our general fund monies are invested at the highest amount that we could have. Allowable within state regs. The general fund continues to look strong. We had our net income over what we had budgeted is $583,000. We were at $509,000 a month ago. Real estate transfer taxes, which I'd like to comment on, good positive number, almost $54,000, which was $34,000 last year. That variance, the amount of that we have received over our budget, which is strong, reflecting strong value of the real estate here in the township. Just jumping right into the trash fund. We had a $24,000 net income over what we had budgeted. We're down a little bit. We thought we were at $59,000. So we're holding our own, comparatively speaking, from month to month. Looking at our total cash as of 5/31 in the trash fund of 1.1 million, we're averaging about $96,000 of expenses a month. So we've got almost 12 months worth of expenses there. And that's a good thing because we don't start collecting until March of next year. The EMS fund, we're down a smidgen. We're at negative $5,000 revenues or net revenues over expenses. We're at $8,000. So we're pretty close to breaking even there month to month. Cash balance is $627,000. Our average expenses are $40,000. So we've got almost 15 and a half months of cash of expenses there, which is very, very similar to last month. So that fund remains strong as well. So with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bars. Any questions, Mr. Bars, from the board?
Quick question. Oh, never mind. I think I answered it. We do have some of the trash fund is in Pliget,
Oh, yeah.
the money. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Any other comments? Any comments from the public? I make a motion to accept the treasury report, pay all bills, and release relevant escrows.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Derhinessian. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. I'm about to jump into the reports, and I just want to say, because there's a few different items on here. Please feel free to comment on the subject that we're talking about. If the subject that we're going to discuss is later on, there'll be an opportunity for you to discuss there. And there's also going to be opportunity at the end of the meeting to have public comment if it's not on any of the topics that are currently on the agenda. With that, moving into the finance report, these were requests to appeal the property tax assessment value. Mr. Manager, do you want to
Yeah, there were, I believe, five tax appeals, relative to properties on Maria's Way. All handled as separate, matters. They went to the, Board of Assessment Appeals where the taxpayers did not receive the relief that they requested. They appealed to the Court of Common Pleas. And the school district negotiated a settlement on those. So you have basically five reductions in front of you. The total impact on the township annually will be somewhere around $1,000 from these changes in assessment. All of the other taxing authorities have signed off, so the county, the school district, and the Board of Assessment Appeals have all already approved this.
Great, thank you. Is there a discussion from the board before I make the motion? Any questions from the public on this? I make a motion to authorize a solicitor to enter into stipulations to resolve the following tax appeals: 3023 Maria's Way, 3025 Maria's Way, 3050 Maria's Way, 3052 Maria's Way, and 3055 Maria's Way.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Derrenessian. All's in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. On to taxes. I don't know if Mr. Plash is here or not. Thank you. During the month of May, there were 59 invoices collected for 2026 taxes. Total tax collected for May was $53,690.97 as remitted to the township in one installment on June 5th, 2026. As of May 31st, 2026, 3,368 tax bills were collected out of 3,575 for a 94.21% collection rate. Mr. Plash is not here, but that is respectfully submitted by our tax collector. On to public safety.
Good evening, Chief McCarthy.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, good evening, everyone. During the month of May 2026, the police department handled 948 calls for service. 311 of them were 911 initiated calls and 637 were officer initiated calls. A further breakdown, 61 medical emergencies. There were 4 assists to other police departments, 24 alarms, 66 traffic stops resulting in 74 citations. There were 10 domestic related calls, 18 crashes, 1 theft, 1 fraud investigation, 8 other criminal investigations, 433 building and development checks, 29 vacation home checks, 24 suspicious vehicles and persons. There was 1 death investigation, 1 municipal ordinance violation, and 193 miscellaneous type of calls. Slow down and stay safe. Rushing increases the risk of making a mistake. Take a 5-second scan of your surroundings to spot hazards before you step into them. Again, always be situationally aware of your surroundings and call 911 if you see suspicious activity. If you see something, please say something. If I could, I just wanted to touch on one other kind of hot topic. The police department has received many complaints about the oil and shipping that is being currently done on a lot of the state highways in our area. We've had not only complaints, but a couple people have come in with damaged windshields, chipped cars. What we instruct everyone is, we will naturally take a report of damage and you can report that to your insurance company. And naturally we would have a report that you were in and we looked at the vehicle. These are state highways. The municipality has nothing to do with it. It is done, my understanding is, and I'm sure our esteemed engineer can vouch for or correct me if I am wrong, but this is done so that they get a lot more life out of the roadway itself before going through a full rebuild of where they would scrape it and then totally repave it. I believe they get 2 to 5 years out of doing it this way from what I was able to read. And it is much cheaper in the long run to extend the life of the road. Again, the easiest way for us, I will say that the other day after they came through and put the fresh oil down and put all the little stones or chips down as they call them, 2 days later, there were 3 sweeper trucks that came up the highways and did clean up a lot of it. There is still obviously a lot that's out there, and I think once we get one good rain, a lot of that, again, will wash away some of those chips. The only thing I would recommend is, increase your following distance a little bit. If you're not so close to the car in front of you, the chances that those chips will pop up and pop onto your car and break your windshield or damage your vehicle goes down a lot if you just stay back a little bit. So I would urge everyone, obviously, increase your following distance a little bit. And that way you may alleviate some of the damage that is done to your own vehicle and cause yourself some fewer headaches. So.
Thank you. I don't think, does anybody have any questions?
I don't. I will say Dr. Addison is going to address this a little bit in the manager's report to give maybe some more context.
I hope I didn't steal anything from him.
I just,
My apologies.
I'm just saying, I'm certain that the public may want to comment here on that, and that would be a better avenue than coming to the police chief. So
My apologies.
appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, Chief, I'm sorry if I could call you back for just 1 second. We had been talking, and I'm not sure this makes a lot of sense, but is there a possibility, would you think it would be hard to try to come up with a total cost to outfit a new officer, to give us a little bit of an idea, let the public understand from uniforms and protective equipment and firearms and ammunition and training?
I can tell you uniform wise, as soon as we hire an officer, you just spend about $2,500. Obviously the ballistic uniform that we wear is somewhat expensive, and it is custom made, if you will, toward the officer. Not that it can't be, if that officer left, that it could not be reused, and we do repurpose them. However, they're only good for 5 years.
Mhm.
So every 5 years, you're spending an additional $1,500 to $1,700 to buy an officer a new set of armor. Altogether, it's about $2,500 just for the uniform. The firearms, we have a sufficient amount of them for right now. So, it is not costly. We don't have to buy a new firearm every time we hire an officer. To train that officer, you're typically looking at about a 30-day period. As long as the officer has some experience. We have in the past hired officers that, if you will, are fresh out of the academy or fresh to police work, and they do take a little bit longer, not only to learn the job itself, but to learn the Bethel Township way of doing the job. So it's slightly different. And even if they come from another department, sometimes the records management system is different. Some of the policies and procedures are different. So they are all trained on those. So it is typically about 60 days, sometimes 75 days, or it could even be a 3-month period where that officer is going to be doing on-the-job training. Initially riding with someone, then riding in their own car, but handling the majority of the calls so that they get some experience.
Perfect.
So I hope that gives you at least a little bit of background.
Yeah, thank you. On to Bethel Hose Company number 1. I don't think Chief Kirchner's here today, so I was going to go ahead and read the report. For the month of May 2026, there was a total of 42 calls, bringing their calls to date up to 202. Of those 42 calls, 16 were within Bethel Township. That's 8 for fire alarms, 1 for carbon monoxide alarm, 1 vehicle accident, 1 building fire, and 5 EMS assists. For the 26 calls that were mutual aid outside of Bethel, there was 6 in Upper Chi, 3 in Concordville, 1 Marcus Hook, 6 in Claymont, and 10 in Tallyville, and there was 1 training conducted. That was respectfully submitted by Chief Kirchner.
I have a question.
Please.
Garrett Weaver, 3172 William Road. Do we have an idea of the approximate percentage of budget that they receive, income that they receive from the carnival every year?
They have it. I don't know that we get.
Yeah, it
one
doesn't,
every year.
it doesn't get presented to the public here.
The reason why I was asking was I'm just trying to understand with the current rain that we had this most recent time, what was we hear about a loss in income. And we hear that one business has stepped up to do a fundraiser and some others, but I'm just curious to see, what that actual hardship is, because I think if residents recognized the actual dollar value, because talking about equipment, the equipment, having been a firefighter, the equipment, to be a firefighter can anywhere be between $5,000 and $14,000. And that money is, as we all know on the board, cannot be provided by the township. So I would appreciate it if that information could be passed on to the fire department, that I think more information needs to be shared about the challenges that they're facing because of the lost income.
I think
Okay.
Mr. Stiles might have a little bit to say.
Yeah, well, I figured.
He might not have all the information you need, but he can maybe glean some insight.
Ray Stiles, Vice President of the Fire Company. Typically a carnival season, we budget about 20,000. Hopefully we make more than that. Obviously, depending on the weather. This week, obviously the weather did not cooperate. We barely made over 8,000. We're lucky to do that. We are very afraid of incidents occurring at our carnival, just like all the other carnivals had. Luckily, we have not had any incidents, thanks to the police standing by and our guys are in uniform, and luckily we have not had incidents. Therefore, the carnival will continue. Hopefully it's better weather next year, but again, between 20, 25, it's a good year. Again, we barely made 8.
Thanks, Ray.
Yep, thank you. That's good.
I'd like to move on to EMS.
All right, EMS calls for service. There were 36 ALS calls and 14 BLS calls. I will move into emergency management. Our emergency management coordinator has been in constant contact with MIPC in regards to the fuel leak mitigation. He assisted with Parks and Rec movie night and the fire company carnival, which occurred without incident. For the MIPC update, they are continuing investigation and cleanup work related to the release of the Chelsea facility. Well sampling has not found any drinking water results above applicable health standards, and no private treatment systems are needed at this time. Site characterization and recovery work remain active on and off the property with additional monitoring wells installed. Fence line air monitoring remains ongoing with benzene results mainly below screening levels. Air quality concerns inside residents have been addressed, and a representative from MIPC was here previously to answer questions. And the MIPC website has updates continuously for additional information should anybody desire some more information. I will move into the facilities and maintenance reports, the highway report for May. Crews continued ongoing remediation of storm drains, completing 34 this month. They removed the fallen tree blocking Kirk Road during the windstorm and thanked the police for providing traffic control while they did that. They delivered and picked up supplies for the preservations log cabin tour, replaced the battery truck number 2, assisted with the setup for Parks and Rec movie night, completed monthly service on the mowers, had a delivery of salt restocked and covered for the summer, and service police car number 4. Buildings and grounds, they replaced all air filters in the buildings, repaired the fire alarm system at the police station, had annual testing completed on all fire extinguishers and AEDs, including the police cars and highway equipment, cut and trim all the township grounds, installed new flags throughout the parks and office campus for Memorial Day, and set up for Election Day. That concludes the buildings and grounds reports.
Thank you. On to board reports, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For Parks and Rec, as you guys have heard, we had dinner and a movie night on Friday, May 29th. That was very successful now that it was not up against Concord's Township Day, their rain date last year. So it kind of squashed our movie night, but it was much better this year. We had a bunch of food trucks. It was great, good attendance, and I think everybody had a good time. We are planning ahead for fireworks, which are on Friday, July 3rd, the America's 250th celebration, which is Saturday, October 10th, which we are working with Concord to put that on. And we're also looking forward to the Corn Boil in August and Lunch with Santa in December. Some new program ideas that we've been talking about are yoga in the park, and there'll be a presentation from one of our ambassadors about another program coming up. The next meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m. here, if anybody wanted to attend. That concludes Parks and Rec report. And then I'm going to move on to some motions here. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the release of funds for the township's July 3rd fireworks display in an amount not to exceed $6,500.
I'll second that motion.
Just to be clear about that too, that's the balance on the 2026.
We put the
Yes,
deposit down at the
yes,
end of last year.
Exactly.
It's the balance and it's paying half of,
Paid in full after this payment.
it should be,
I think
it
it's.
should also be paying forward for next year, no?
No,
Or does that
that's a
happen in
separate
December?
motion. That's a separate
Okay.
motion.
Okay,
This would be the 5,000 for the remaining of 25, 526, and 1,500 for potential DJ.
got it. Okay,
You have the DJ on here.
Yeah.
I think it's the tariff.
Yeah, I think
increase.
it's the tariffs also.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
There's a motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian, seconded by Supervisor Iacono. Is there other discussion from the board on this? From the public? All's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the release of funds for the township's annual corn boil event in an amount not to exceed $17,000.
I will second. Motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian, seconded by myself. Discussion from the board on this?
Also, just note that that's the budgeted amount. We're just asking for the release of the budget and. for the
Right.
corn boil.
And Parks and Recreation is also collecting sponsorships. So, and then I guess for any of these upcoming events, if there's a situation where you're exceeding, that's an area where sponsorship can be
Yeah.
utilized, right? Okay. Is there any other comments from the board on corn boil? From the public?
What did you say about exceeding?
I was saying that if they're collecting sponsorships from different corporations, I don't know what the total amount is.
We have $4,500 in sponsorships for our events, so that we can use that money towards supplementing our events, what's budgeted.
Right. That comment was made by Mr. Miller.
It's gone.
Dave Winkler, 1062 Bethel. What exactly are we spending $17,000 on at the corn boil event?
So there's the food, there's the corn, there's lots of activity, there's other food in addition to the corn. There is a band, there is
The tents.
the tent, yeah. the
Are we
tents.
selling the food or are we giving it away?
No, we're giving it away.
Okay,
It's a free event for township residents.
so how many people do we expect to be there?
It depends on the weather, but it's very well attended every year.
500,000, 2,000?
I don't know, what do we think? I'm
We're
not-
definitely over the 500 mark.
Yeah.
How many stalks of corn are we giving away?
I'm not sure.
Bushels.
I haven't been there.
How many do we buy?
It's
I
a
don't know.
truckload.
Yeah.
It's a dump truckload.
A dump truck
Yeah.
load?
A corn, typically.
Who's cooking?
The
Renzi's
caterer.
is
A
the
county
caterer.
caterer? So we're paying for the caterer, paying for the music?
Yeah.
And security by our police?
I mean, yes, that's part of it. Our corn boil has now in the, last year, we also had it as our national night out. So it was an event where people could come and talk to our police and fire and emergency.
Okay.
People there.
Yeah, no, I've been here 16 years. I've seen the signs. I've never
Yeah.
attended. I
Yeah.
hear
That's
the
great.
stuff going on,
Yeah.
but it's just something I've never attended and just wondering where $17,000 goes into boiling corn.
So,
The bounce houses too, right?
yeah,
The
there,
tent rental's
There's
probably a big piece,
activities
yeah.
and we have a face painter and.
So it's all
bubble
stuff
maker.
that
Yeah.
we're, that's great. All right, thank you.
you got it. Any other questions from the public?
Garrett Weaver, 3172, William Road. Regarding the food, is that something that volunteers can cook? Or are there health code violations?
We definitely get our Board of Health certified vendor and they have certificates of insurance. In fact, all the vendors do. I would say it's a pretty rigorous process for you to be a participant on that side.
Food
Right.
part, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought, having done big events in the past. I wasn't sure if that was something that volunteers could be done. But because it's, serving so many people, there's probably no way to do it. So,
Yeah,
thanks.
I know some residents that are here have attended some of the Parks and Rec meetings. They're choosing different potato chip vendors where they can save 3 cents a bag. That's the level of like
trying to
Yeah.
stretch the budget as much as possible.
Yeah.
So
And there are the corporate vendors and, or supporters and things like that. So,
absolutely.
yeah, again, and having been subject to the, health code, from, Delaware County and Chester County, it's not an easy process.
And the volunteers help out with other things like stocking the sodas and chips and things like that. The food vendor is strictly cooking the food.
And in theory, Renzi's Catering is run out of Bethel Hose Company's building, and they pay a rent for that, which goes back in some way to the fire department. Okay.
Definitely utilizing local vendors where we can.
Yeah.
For sure. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a proposal from Turpin Landscape Design / Build for the treatment and management of algae and aquatic plant growth in the pond at John Atkinson Park in an amount not to exceed $3,500.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Derrenessing and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. How regularly do you guys probably do this?
Well,
Every
we
4
haven't,
years?
we
Oh.
haven't. And last year the algae got really bad. And they say we should do several treatments a year, but they think at a minimum we need the one treatment. So we're gonna treat it. It's actually already starting to get some algae in, and I don't know if anybody's seen it. We're gonna treat it now. They say it should be treated in the spring. So we're a little bit, kind of pushing that, but, and we'll see how it does. And if it needs to be treated again, we'll treat it again. It's kind of since it's our first time, at least since I've been here treating it, I think, kind of see what happens.
I mean, and other than looking good, it's going to hopefully promote pump longevity, right? And
Yes.
that's some of the
Yeah.
issues. We replaced the pump. So we have a brand new pump from last year. They want to try to preserve. Any other comments from the board?
I was surprised to see the growth already. It's
Yeah,
not
it's really-
been
it's
that
not good.
hot, but
From the public, any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
So then we're going to move to a discussion and possible action to authorize the release of funds for the purchase and installation of little free libraries at Jack King Park and Bethel Community Park in an amount not to exceed $800. And I would like to ask one of our ambassadors, Shruti Sridhar, to come up and give a little presentation about this.
Hello, Shruti Sridhar, 51 Venuti Drive. I am a Bethel Township Parks and Recreation Ambassador, and as part as ambassador, we are able to conduct a community service initiative. So my idea for this community service initiative was to install little free libraries, 2 in specific, one at Jack King Park and one at Bethel Community Park, in addition to the one that already stands at John Atkinson. Next slide. So 92% of children have access to more books because there is a little free library in their community. Because of little free libraries, children read more. And not only that, if we install little free libraries at the parks, this increases park engagement. Here are a few pictures of customers and people that have purchased and installed little free libraries in their communities. They're very easy. You can put books for any ages, and it helps the community get more engaged. Next slide. So this proposal requests board approval to install one at Bethel Community Park and one at Jack King Park. Next slide. There's already one at John Atkinson Park as part of an Eagle Scout project. However, this little free library is not part of a charter. So installing 2 new free ones, or 2 new little free libraries would allow for Bethel Township to be a charter on the little free library map. Next slide. So the community needs this because it's a long-term community initiative. Bethel Township Parks and Recreation currently provides annual events, one-time events, Easter egg hunt, movie night, fireworks, corn boil, and lunch with Santa. And while they're very well-loved events and very fun events, they are one-day occurrences. So there is currently no permanent passive feature at any township park that encourages these repeat visits throughout the year, and especially during the summer when a lot of people frequent parks. So with a growing population and a school district that has multiple ages, and demand for accessible year-round programming continues to grow. We're also looking for more park interaction. As more community engages with the parks, we have more community to neighbor interaction, and 72% of volunteer stewards have met more neighbors because of their little free library, which is something that can be really beneficial for Bethel Township themselves. Next slide. So The project goals is to install one Little Free Library at each of the township parks by fall 2026, to create a permanent free community resource available to all residents all year, increase park and neighbor-to-neighbor interaction, possibly launch a community book drive, which I will explain, to stock all libraries with donated books, and possibly establish a community and school district volunteer system to help monitor libraries long-term, which I will also go in depth. So to begin on the timeline, phase 1 is in June 2026, which is made up of board approval, site selection, and procurement. So upon board approval, I will work to identify placement for each library at the 3 parks with guidance from the highway staff and just anyone else that the board needs to provide. Placement will comply with all township ordinances and accessibility guidelines. These libraries will be sourced through purchasing the official Little Free Library Charter kits or pre-built, and they're around 200 each plus 90 per post, and I will explain the budget a little later as well. And this includes registration on the global map, increasing visibility for Bethel Township. Phase 2 is in July with construction and community book drive. These libraries can be built by me and a set of volunteers because they come with instructions, they come with a kit, and they're pretty easy to build. They just need a drill. They'll be covered with weatherproof sealant and labeled with the Bethel Township Parks and Recreation logo to note that it is a township initiative. And then prior to installation, I plan to organize a township book drive. Phase 3 is the launch of these libraries at both parks. It is just either a day or a weekend where we can invite township residents to watch a library be opened and start interacting with it to get the word out, and also create a new event where township people can come and interact. And then phase 4 is the ongoing stewardship. The main problem with the library at John Atkinson is the fact that it can't be maintained that well. So this ongoing stewardship would include the John Atkinson Park Little Free Library as well. And it's long-term with volunteers and future Parks and Recreation ambassadors. High school students are always looking for volunteer hours, and Parks and Recreation often uses Interact volunteers already for community events. So as a high school junior at Garnet Valley, I could help set up a monthly Interact event for students to sign up and simply check on the libraries for hours, which is very similar to events at the Newland Grist Mill where they help clean up and things like that. They will be able to then contact the township if there are any issues, and from then on, it's more of a volunteer system and a township, and they're working hand in hand rather than just the township having to maintain everything. Next slide. So this is the community book drive. Again, this book drive provides a no-cost long-term initiative for the township to run. Donation bins could be outside the John L. Myers building for a very low cost. We just have to put bins out, and residents can come in and drop books of any kind. This is a mock social media post that I made up. And I also plan to speak to the Rachel Cole Library about possible book donations. And if successful, this is an initiative that can be done annually because it's very low cost. It just involves bins being placed out, and it's something that gets the community talking and more visibility for the building itself, which is for Bethel Township. And then also it allows for the initial book stock of the Little Free Libraries to be $0. Next slide. So for the budget, there will be 2 mini shed Little Free Library kits or pre-built, and there are around $200 per. So the estimate is around $380 to $400 for just the mini shed kits. We also need $160 for shipping. And then next slide. This is the wooden posts and the charters. This is just to show what the money is going to be used for. Each post is around $90 to $100. So we would require $180 to $200. And then the charter sign comes free with each library. And then that's the map that would show that Bethel Township is part of a charter. Next slide. These are the weatherproofing materials. I just wanted to add this on to inform everyone what would be used to make sure that these are maintained. So we have wood primer, wood paint, silicone caulk, and foam weather strip tape to make sure that, I know Pennsylvania is seasonal, so there's a lot of snow, a lot of rain. So to make sure that the maintenance is quite easy throughout the year, all of these materials will be used when building and to make sure that it maintains its state. And then obviously the initial book stock is $0. Next slide. So I'm requesting the following from the Supervisory Board. Release of the funds so that the materials can be ordered, formal approval to proceed with the Little Free Library project, guidance on preferred placement, and this is something that if the board could provide me with any number of people to contact and things like that as well. And then permission to promote the book drive in the libraries through township communication channels like social media. And then last slide. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or?
I just want to say that was a great presentation.
I know, right?
Thank you for putting it together. It covered all the topics we would ever want to know about those libraries. And I think that was a phenomenal job. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
great job.
Thank you.
And I think it's a great idea. And I think you thought it through, you thought kind of from, initiation to even just the maintenance. So that's great. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I thought that too. The maintenance and enlisting Interact was a really good idea. Yeah.
It was great. I do have one question. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
What's the advantage of being a charter or being in a charter?
The advantage of just being a charter would be, first of all, it comes free, so we wouldn't need to buy anything extra, but also just visibility on the map. As you could see on the presentation, we have like a map of just like people, and a lot of people actually go on this website, and I asked around like friends, and they kind of really know this. It's popular on social media, so to have something nearby that like is on a map is pretty cool. So
Right,
Do-
like ours right now isn't on the map.
Would we retroactively allow Atkinson to be chartered? It doesn't work that way.
no, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
You'd have to buy an existing. You would have to buy a sign. But if we buy,
Can we can buy just a sign?
yeah, you can buy just a charter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that onto the budget, if
Yeah.
please.
Sorry, we can do another motion for that later.
I have a few questions and yes, great job. What would the monthly volunteers do?
So the monthly volunteers would simply just go to the libraries, make sure that the book stock is good, as well as maintenance to check if any leaks have happened, make sure that the books are not like growing mold, the libraries are looking in good shape, and so is the sign. If there are any issues, they can contact the township specifically, like we'll give them a contact through Interact. They can contact, and this can be a job of like a Parks and Recreation ambassador or something that they talk about at the board meeting about how they want to go about it. Most of the maintenance is not very hard. I was reading on the Little Free Library website itself, and most of it is just making sure that it doesn't leak at the very beginning. And it's pretty durable after that, especially with the materials that I showed. And then from there, the township can decide what to do.
I was also wondering who will decide what books to have in there?
So the books would pretty much be, because of the community book drive, I'm thinking we would have a variety of age groups. So around like 25% of like very little kids, middle-aged, young adult, just to maximize how many people would be taking the books.
Right, so through the donations, like what if you get a lot of donations? What do you do with those books? Or what if you don't get enough donations?
Well, if we don't get enough donations, I know that, as I said in my presentation, like I will be speaking to Rachel Cole Library and just like trying to promote it again and again throughout, because this is a long-term book drive that we can run. It doesn't have to be just this. And then also, if there's too many books, we can always donate them to the library if that is allowed, and be able to use them for future donations and kind of just keep them in stock as books may get like run out.
Yeah, you can circulate them through, so there's not always the same books in there either.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I love Little Free Libraries. I thought about getting one myself, so I've looked into it quite a bit. But at the same time, in the same meeting, we're talking about whether we can give money to the actual library. So I would like to hear, I see Mr. Weaver up. I'd like to hear what representatives from the library think about this.
So first of all, Schrudy is now going to do all my presentations. And way to go with the class of 2027.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to talk about the library from a personal perspective first. So I did a ton of research on this for my community. Little Free Library, you have to buy the Little Free Library from them in order to get the plaque. I actually took a picture of it. Little Birdie told me about this presentation, so did some work. We chose composite over wood. And part of the reason for that was because I went to Atkinson Park one day and the door was falling off. So what did I do? I called the office. And the office, very helpful, and said, one of the challenges are people don't keep it up. The Boy Scouts, not trying to throw them out, but the Boy Scout graduated, moved on. And so the township went over and fixed it. But the challenge with wood is that you have to restain it. You have to repair it. And then where are you going to store those supplies? With the composite, including the post, it would increase the cost slightly, probably up to around $1,100 for two. But it would have a longer shelf life. So from that perspective, it's better. And I can tell you that ours is widely used in Garnet Hills, Garnet Ridge. You can come down, take a look at it. It took us about a week to raise the funds internally within the homeowner association. But moving to the books. So now I'm going to talk about the Rachel Club Library side. That's not a hard part. The library, I already talked to the director, already sent an email around, books both to supply to you as well as to get rid of, offload, and be a resource. Happy to do that. That's a no-brainer. So again, from our perspective, this is another example of getting the word out about the library and allows people, and people do this while they're on vacation. They go to a little free library. It's a very large nationwide program. So we support it 100% and support, I don't know, 5 or 6 already.
Thank you. It's very helpful. I wonder if, I don't know, would you like put a little sign on there that says like reminder, we also have an actual library?
Yeah, it's like a sign of like, if you want more, like, please visit the Rachel Cole Library, get a library card.
Another thought I had to get more community involvement, like you could have high school students decorate the like have a competition or decorate and get hours for that.
Yeah, definitely. Like painting them is probably one of the biggest things that puts them on the website actually, because if you scroll through, there's a lot of cool designs and little kids that are painting them, but that could be definitely a way to increase just like awareness in the Interact Club, but also just in the student body itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments from the board or questions? Any additional comments from the public? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll actually think I'm in pushing.
Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry.
Let's try that again.
Let's try it again.
So I'd like to make a motion to authorize the release of funds for the purchase and installation of little free libraries at Jack King Park and Bethel Community Park in an amount not to exceed $800.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Supervisor Derrenhessen and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve payment to Vecchio Entertainment Group for DJ entertainment services for the township's 2026 annual fireworks celebration in an amount not to exceed $1,500.
I will second. Motion made by Supervisor Derrenhessen and seconded by myself. Discussion from the board on this.
This is, this would be something that we would use our sponsorship money to cover this cost.
Then do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sponsorship money that's coming to the township,
Yes.
right? So you need.
Yeah,
okay.
So this isn't affecting the overall budget within the Parks and Rec, but it was an income that we received.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? From the public?
John Nevy, 3213 Sarah Farm Lane. No objection to the spend. I just would want to, just because we're talking about the fireworks, I'd raise a question about whether or not we looked into potentially for having some sort of parking access that's more, that's specific for our township residents. Just so we're not running in situations that we've historically run into where, 2/3 of all the parking in the area is out of state and non-residents in there. I just wanted to sure if that had been discussed or raised or looked into since the last meeting.
Yeah, I know
that.
You and I had discussed it.
Yeah.
After the meeting, I actually talked to Dr. Addison about it today. There's challenges to something like online registration, like pre-registration, because it might be alienating some of our residents. I know it's being discussed. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I just was.
Maybe a little late in the game now. I mean, we have, so it's
That's
something.
why I thought
I
about
think
asking.
we've always kind of talked about it because we know the challenges that's been faced, but I think we've brainstormed different ideas, but I don't think have ever really settled on one that seems to.
It just because,
Yeah,
again,
good fit.
I've gone to, I think, 2 fireworks displays in 20 years and not because of lack of trying, it just, 80% of the time we try and get there and I just can't find parking. I
Yeah,
mean,
no, it's crazy. That's
So-
definitely the truth.
all right, thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Have you talked about getting like busing to let people park someplace else and then bus them on?
We had not, and I'm sure you guys have experienced it. The school fills up first, then community, and then it's like along Bethel and
All the neighborhoods.
yeah. Unfortunately, like, where the former school was at the corner would be great. That's where they're setting the fireworks off. Like where we use the parking for the carnival. It is a challenge and, there's some Parks and Rec members in here. It's hard policing it too. It's not that easy to just turn someone around when you're 6 cars deep, all trying to get in at the same time. Not that you really would anyways, but there's been discussions every year about checking IDs. And, these are volunteers that are trying to get a lot of cars parked quickly. It's harder than it sounds.
It's a good thought, though. I mean, and we have Parks and Rec tomorrow, Parks and Rec meeting tomorrow. We can talk more about that, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to turn anything around this year, but yeah, no.
So I've been to an event at like New and Grist and they'd announced that there's parking at some other parking lot and there's gonna be buses.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah, good to think about.
Erica Brignac, 1440 Namens Creek Road. I just wanted to add to this discussion because in the past year, I guess last year, you added food trucks. And so that sort of is incentivizing people to come earlier, and the parking then is available earlier because you could come, have dinner, listen to music, and then be there for the fireworks. So I encourage you to try and come out this year, and maybe you'll find parking if you come for dinner first.
Thank you.
Any other comments from public? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize advertisement of an ordinance to repeal chapter 44 of the Code of Bethel Township entitled Parks and Recreation Board. This is kind of an ongoing kind of issue that we've had as Parks and Rec. The board has not had an executive board in over a year. There's not been a chair, a vice chair, and secretary. So it's causing the board to not function in a way that boards are really supposed to in a second class township. It's very dependent on township staff to get things done. To that end, we hired Amber as the communication and community coordinator to kind of take the lead, and as we were not able to find someone to chair this. If we were to move forward with an ordinance to dissolve kind of the board, this would turn into more of a volunteer committee. It would mean that monthly meetings are not mandatory and we wouldn't need a quorum or published agenda and minutes. It would function in a similar way to the board, but on a volunteer basis. And the coordinator would still need approval from the supervisors in order to make purchases.
Right, so one of Amber's responsibilities is kind of at the administrative level for Parks and Recreation. And ideas on events or improvements to events can be generated by the public, submitted to the township, or by the volunteer board and submitted. The real change is that board currently formally votes on their selection for vendors. They're the ones that are trying to obtain certificates of insurance. And then when they have that packet together, they bring it to this board for approval. Everything will still be put in front of this board for approval, but it would be, the package would be put together by the township office.
Correct.
And this may mean that the volunteers are meeting less regularly than every month, and it's not required to be a public meeting.
Right.
I mean, and hopefully this streamlines the process in general, just because, I mean, ever since I've been on this board, it's always been challenging. These events don't seem like a lot sometimes, but there's a lot that goes into it with all the vendors and the insurance and the purchasing. And so, I think right now it's a little bit disconnected. So having, somebody in the township office who's kind of handling the big administration portion of it too, I think is going to be a great help than having to teach our board what you need to get for certificates of insurance, what kind of insurance they need to have. And that just, it's just a breakdown. So I think it'll streamline things. And Amber's already been going to the meeting, so she's familiar with the staff and, you know, the volunteers and everything, so.
I do appreciate that Amber is being very receptive to feedback and still wants everyone that our current board members to be able to continue to give their like either volunteer for stuff
Participate.
or participate and not feel like their ideas aren't being taken into consideration.
And you may even get more volunteers because they're not committed to having to be there every month. It's just like whenever we have an event, call for volunteers and everybody who can make it comes and, you know, has a kind of strategy planning meeting and go for that.
And I like to add, I think, and I haven't been the liaison in 2026, but in 2025 I was, and the acting chair had stepped down, and that board was aware, hey, this board has to have a chair, vice chair, secretary in order to, you know, run through the meeting, and it's a large time commitment, and the volunteers are great, but they weren't able to step into that role. So it's not like it's a surprise to that board either. I think they recognized having support from the township was beneficial.
This also doesn't mean that this is forever. If at some point in the future we decide we want to have put this back as a board, we can make that happen too.
Will there still be an opportunity for a junior ambassador?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Is there any other discussion from the board on this? From the public?
David White, 1062 Bethel. How much will this increase our costs by hiring Amber and giving township people doing the work instead of volunteers?
So she's been hired, and this is only part of what her responsibilities are. So that this cost is this isn't a new.
It's already in the budget.
This was already budgeted for.
How many hours a week really do you, I mean, like, what else is she doing? Let me ask you that. I'm just trying to break down like what it's obviously we're paying more. Okay,
Yes.
so how much more? It's like saying how many stalks of corn and you say a truckload. I don't know how many stalks of
But
corn are in
also
a truckload.
I don't think I'm supposed to say salary information. So I can't.
How about,
Well, I think you're looking at
What's she-
level of effort.
Yeah.
Is that the question
Yeah.
you're saying?
I'm like wondering how much,
Sure.
what's it costing us more now
I think,
because of this?
I don't think it's cost, I think Amber that role was needed for the township regardless. I think that in the week leading to the corn boil, it's probably 30 hours. I think that when you're leading up to one of the lesser events, it's probably 12 hours. And I think that there's probably 2 hours a week of just staying on top of the volunteers and getting the emails out. And believe it or not, that was a lot for the people who were on the Parks and Rec.
Absolutely. No, I'm not questioning that
I
it's
didn't
not
think you were.
necessary. I'm just trying to summate what realistically, how much more it's costing us by, you know, dissolving a board that's not functioning. I obviously have to agree with that. I'm just wondering, by having to get rid of that, you know, what more is it going to cost us? And obviously it's going to increase something in the budget down the road, which I'm, you know, not happy with about any of our budget increases. I mean, I love free libraries. That's a great cause, but you know, other things we obviously need to tighten up on. But, all right, sounds great.
Thank you.
I just got a couple quick questions. They know if we'll keep 31 arm.
If Amber's already doing this, why do you gotta take that 44 out of this thing?
So we need to make it official and at this point, we're still doing all the things the formal things that a board needs to do, like putting out an agenda. It's on.
What, are you doing that
Why
now?
don't you let Maggie?
Yeah, so we have an ordinance, this chapter 44, that says.
Yeah, I looked that up too. It's not, it doesn't give you any information.
Yeah, it really mirrors the second class township code
Mhm.
on Parks and Recreation boards. But it does say you have to have a chair and vice chair and such other officers as you need. It does require this board to appoint people. You have to have 5, 7, or 8 members, those sorts of things, and that regimen doesn't work right. So that's the reason to
Yeah,
get
but
rid
you
of this.
keep
If you're
saying
not-
right now, that's why I'm asking why you would have to suspend it, because you're doing it now, right?
No, we're not. doing
We're not.
that.
It's been like over a year where they haven't had a chair, a vice chair, a secretary.
No, I get that. Amber's already doing
But
it.
she just started.
Like
Couple
to
months
April,
ago?
maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
also
not,
not the chair
it's not so
anymore.
much
Right.
whether Amber's doing it is not, or not doing it, as you have a board that's really defunct in practice. And it should be, removed on paper, so it's, people don't expect that there's gonna be park and rec board meetings with a quorum of people attending, if you have problems getting a quorum to your park and rec board meeting to make recommendations to your board, you have problems operating a park and rec.
Listen, I get all that. I'm just wondering how it's permissible now. What if you wanted to go back to a board and you strike this language out of
It's
there?
not a constitution.
Okay.
Right, you just do a new ordinance if you decide that some other structure is more appropriate, or this one becomes appropriate again, so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All those in favor?
I think you need a
Oh,
second.
yeah. You're right.
I-
I will
I'll
second.
Oh.
I'll second. So motion made by Supervisor Derrenessian, seconded by myself. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I did that one different.
I was going to second it
I
earlier.
did it.
I apologize.
All right, I guess I'll do the zoning hearing board report for the month. The board had 3 items on the agenda for May. The first item was a continuation from April's meeting, a side yard pool request on a corner lot at 3183 Hammond Drive. The request was granted with conditions. Second item is a continuation from April's meeting request for front yard fence on a portion of a front yard, along with the variance request for a corner of a pool and decking to be permitted in the side yard at 3187 Ridgeview Court, also on a corner lot. This was also granted with conditions. The final item, a request challenging the zoning officer's interpretation of the location for an in-ground swimming pool at 1739 Garnet Mine Road, was denied. However, a variance request for an in-ground swimming pool at the same address was granted. Respectfully submitted, Gary Lanahan, who I thought I saw. Gary, you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I forgot to put in the report, there's nothing for June this month.
Alrighty. That concludes the zoning hearing report. Planning Commission report, they did not have a meeting in June because the applicants were not ready with any updates. So maybe July. Lou could not make it tonight, so that
Okay.
concludes the Planning Commission report.
Thank you. On to the sewer authority. I have the report here with 5 items. Dedication work has been completed for Foxfield. Developers moving forward with dedication of sanitary sewer improvements and rights of way for Creekside Run. In Belmont 3, developer and security agreements have been signed. On the engineer's side, the authority entered an agreement with Advanced Electric Group LLC for an amount not to exceed $500,000 for the generators, which were discussed in prior meetings. And for Belmont 3, the developer has commenced construction. HRG is performing construction inspection, and work completed to date is acceptable in accordance with the plans. Ms. Vance, is there anything else you'd like to add? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, great. You got it. That concludes the sewer authority report. Excuse me, on to education. Supervisor Mang.
So in May, the school board continued to advance the Pennington project, including roadway improvements and a turning lane on Bethel Road, with continued coordination with PennDOT. The board also considered adoption of the 2026 to 2027 budget and continued property tax relief through the Homestead and Farmstead Exclusion Program for qualifying homeowners. Additional updates include a new scholarship supporting students entering trade or technical careers, continued focus on student well-being and responsible technology use, and the district's annual mock crash program to promote student safety. The board also completed routine financial policy and staffing act
Maybe when you move the TV, the wire disconnected or something.
Yeah, we're still streaming. We're good. Yeah, wires and. See it? Oh, I'm sharing. That's one of the reasons.
Is it visible on the large screen?
Yeah. It's visible.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I can see. Okay.
Please continue.
Starting off for May, 4th through 15th, we had AP testing. 11th through 15th, we had Keystone testing, which is mandatory in order to graduate. The 20th, we had the mock crash event that seniors participate in to promote student safety. The 22nd, we had senior prom. 26th, the senior class trip to Hershey Park. And the 28th, Garnet Valley hosted the Senior Athletic Awards. For June 1st through 2nd, seniors took their final exams. The 2nd, senior award night, where students were given scholarships. The 3rd was the graduation walkthrough for seniors, and 4th was graduation at University of Delaware. 5th through 10th was final exams for underclassmen, and tomorrow is the last day of school. For representation for Garnet Valley Swim, there were 3 swimmers this year that got the National Interscholastic Swimming Coaches Association Academic All-American Team, which only 2% of high school seniors nationwide achieve. That was Anna King, Catherine Oakes, and Ryan Simone this year. For Garnet Valley Track and Field at the BIAA State Championships in Shippensburg, the boys team placed 6th overall, which was led by the state champion team 4x100 meter relay team, Shane Miller, Cole Hoffacker, Evan McCabe, and Jonathan Wirt. Thank you.
Just want to know that there's a delay about 3 seconds from that screen to this screen, so you can't grab your mouse.
Thank you. Okay, so for the library report, the library continues to serve as a valuable resource for Bethel residents and surrounding communities. In May, Bethel patrons accounted for 23% of total circulation, with overall library circulation exceeding 15,000 items. The library also processed 105 new library card applications across the 5 service areas, including 18 from Bethel Township. Looking ahead, the library is preparing for its summer reading program, which begins June 22nd and includes more than 70 programs for children and families. In addition, staff will be participating in local outreach events, including the Duck Derby and the Concord Farmers Market. As you heard earlier, the library continues to manage HVAC, roof, and electrical system challenges. And as always, residents are encouraged to take advantage of the wide range of programs, services, and resources available, including community events, meeting spaces, and digital offerings. The full report can be found in the packet, and more information is available on their website. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Ming. On to the manager's report, Dr. Addison.
All right. Covered by the chief, covered by the engineer, covered by our ambassador. Well done. Okay. I would like to briefly address inquiries regarding PennDOT's oil and chip program currently taking place on the state roads within the township. Specifically this week is going to be Garnet Mine Road as well as Folk Road. This work is a PennDOT program on state-owned roads only, state-owned. The township has no role. We have no role at all in its planning, the scheduling, the altering, the suggestions of altering at all, the execution or the maintenance, as it is solely under the jurisdiction of the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. We've received numerous calls. We have exhausted ourselves, almost having to have the police department contain a highway truck to get an answer. It's been exhausting. All questions or concerns regarding the oil and chip program should be directed to PennDOT through their phone, their email. We have found the best responses through their website, through their portal option. The township, however, is aware of concerns regarding loose stones on treated roads, including reports of windshields and vehicle damage. Residents are encouraged to exercise caution while traveling in these areas. Reiterating what Chief McCarthy say, expand your distance from following. This morning, we locked in with our state representative's office. We've been advised that State Representative Williams' office is going to assist residents with potential vehicle damage claims. Residents may contact his office. I have a phone number here, but I think it's easier to supply a phone number and an email. So that's going to go on the township's website tomorrow morning. So any residents that are impacted by this can feel free to reach out to them and continue to call us as well. But we've been directing everyone to the Pennsylvania State Representative's office. And that concludes my report. Yes.
If anybody's been over on Powell Road, they seem to be completed.
Yes.
And I'm really impressed with what the finished product is.
Okay.
I mean, if there's any silver linings of what we're putting up with now, the end result is, I was pretty impressed with the end result.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, name and address?
Joe Connor, 3317 Walk Road.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen. This is my first time here. My name is John Clark, my wife Catherine. We moved here a few years ago. We live on 3879 Marsh Road. If you're familiar with Marsh Road, we live just almost on the Delaware line where it chokes down. Now, we have a situation that started a couple of years ago, but it wasn't too bad. But what's happening, and I called the police department, and I guess this will, who's in charge of the highway department? I thought so. I'm sorry if I'm out of line, but anyways, my first time here. But what's happening is we're having people come from Delaware. They pull right in front of my house and they may be sitting there for hours at end. And it's disturbing. If you can imagine it, I see your brow going up. What are they doing? Well, I called the police department. Okay. And because I went up to one of the cars and I was insulted. They're gambling. But apparently on their app, the GPS, they have to be in Pennsylvania. Okay. Now, it may not be a big deal, but in today's atmosphere, what's happening with the uncertainty, it's disturbing. And sometimes, Kathy, my wife will tell you, sometimes they'll be out there for hours, okay? Plus the road is a little narrow, okay, to speak of. Now, I'm thinking a solution. I'm not one for putting a lot of signs on the roads and all that, but maybe we should have some kind of a 15-minute parking so that the grass cutters can stay there legally and cut the grass and all that. But this isn't a complaint. This is a concern that we have. And it's kind of disturbing. But I will say that the highway department during the winter time, they did an outstanding job with the snow removal. The police department's doing a wonderful job, and I commend them on that. So I thank you for your time.
Can I get your address
Thank you.
again, please?
My name?
Address.
3879 Marsh Road.
Just, I want to kind of see where you are and see about it. Fine. We'll look into it. Talk to the engineer and see if there's anything we can do. If you have concerns, continue to call the police.
Yeah, now, is that township road or state road?
Marsh is township, yeah.
Is that township?
Yeah.
I know we plowed.
Yeah.
I know we plowed, but I wasn't sure if it was which one, because of Delaware.
Well, it stops right at the line and then Delaware takes over. Yeah.
Delaware pulls up and the traffic.
Stops, turns around. Yeah.
But I'm used to all that. But I we retired, we moved here. We used to live on Smith Ridge Road and we like it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. I live right by you, so we have that in our neighborhood also, like down in Rock Creek. Yeah.
Is there any other public comment about the road resurfacing? I'd invite you to talk about that now. Okay. All right, on to new business. So before I make the motion, a little backstory here. Simone Collins was the firm that was hired to do the planning work associated with Schaefer Preserve. They got it to a schematic design, enough for us to go out and kind of understand what the preserve might want to look like. We put out a solicitation and selected Chester Valley Engineers to do the design development drawings that would eventually be submitted for permit. Nault has had North American Land Trust, who has that parcel in a conservation covenant, they had seen some of the preliminary drawings. They seemed to not take exception to the way that the drawings were going. Most recently, Nault has expressed that I think one of the things that was a design change was moving the parking area along Bethel Road. And that would have been outside of the unprotected area of the conservation covenant. And so in order to allow that to happen, we were looking to have Nault modify the covenant. And in order to do the modification, Nault was asking for roughly $30,000 to go through that effort, and then also to represent the new covenant in future litigation, should there be any. Most recently, they've come back and said, we don't want to adjust the covenant at all. And we want to see if there's to be parking and a roadway, that all has to be in the area that's unrestricted by the covenant. So the unrestricted area is a parcel, and I don't quite know the size of it, but it's, instead of being at the front of Bethel Road, which is where the parking was seen on the plans that are on our website, it's further into the preserve and along the perimeter by Sarum Farm. And the unrestricted area also allows for an easement, a vehicular easement, to allow vehicles to go from Bethel into the parking area and back. So their response to us was, if you put the parking and roadway in those unrestricted areas, and then everything is designed as they'd seen prior from the pathway standpoint and the stormwater protocols, that they would take no exception to it. So.
And we would not have to amend the easement.
If we are to go that route, we would need to, it's a change order for Chester Valley Engineers to do a redesign. And they've submitted a proposal. It's in the packet that's totaling $34,820. And the intent there would be to redesign the parking area and the driveway only. All the other pathways and stormwater controls and wetlands, all that stuff would remain as is, and then it would be able to be submitted for permit. So that's what this discussion point is about today.
And I want to point out in the packet, so the quote that we got from them was an amount for the design change and then an amount to do an archaeological study, which may or may not be needed depending on when they submit for permits. So we're hoping it's not going to be needed. We've had some conversations with the conservation district, and it's kind of been, maybe it will, maybe it won't. So we're not going to authorize that expenditure at this time. So the secondary number in the proposal, that's why it's not being included, because we might not need it. So there's no point in authorizing it now. And I think if we were to need it, we would try and solicit a proposal from somebody else to see if we could get it done for a cheaper price.
So I'm going to at some point make a motion, potentially get a second, have some discussion from the board, then we'll invite the public to have their comment, and then we can take a vote on it. So with that, I'm making a motion to authorize Chester Valley Engineers to prepare a design revision for Schaefer Preserve parking area relocation in amount not to exceed $34,820.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Icahn. So discussion from the board on this item.
So just in theory, this is almost a wash of, we're now not paying Nault the $30,000, but the $34,000 would be paid to Chester Valley.
Are you saying the public can't oppose right now?
I'm going to ask you to come and make public comment. Ideally, I was looking to see if there's any comment from the board first, but by all means.
I mean, no, if that's what you're
No.
saying, if I can oppose this again, And I don't have to do it tonight. But I oppose this whole thing.
Yeah, now would be the time for you to give your comment on the position of this. Yep.
I just, we don't want it. There's a lot of us that don't want. Don't need to spend that money. You spend $34,000 on a library. Instead of having him begging for money. What do we need to know? Now you're calling it a preserve too, when it was a park before, right?
I mean, we've been calling it a preserve for a while, which is what it is intended to be.
And
Park has the connotation that there's ball fields and playgrounds. and we're
yeah,
looking
all
for
right.
Low impact area.
Well, I'm opposed to it. David Winkler, 1062 Bethel. I am staunchly opposed to it. I don't know why we need it. I think that the land will be better served allowing wildlife to live. That is the idea of a preserve. I think it's a dangerous turn. I don't care who signed off on it. It's a horrible turn. I think the people that live next to it on both sides are opposed to it. Why do we want to aggravate our neighbors? It was given to this town by Dr. Schaefer, right?
Well,
We
not,
bought it. It wasn't given to us.
Okay, bought, whatever. Well, then why are we still calling it Schaefer Preserve? I mean, was that part of the deal that we keep his name on it? Because isn't he a suspected pedophile or a registered sex offender?
I don't know anything about any of that, but.
Well, these are things that I've heard the whole time I've lived in this town. And I would say that if somebody should look into that because, and if he is, then his name should come off it.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm just gonna say, let's just try to keep it about what the item is.
Well,
And-
the whole thing sucks, all right? I don't like any of it. Where are the deer supposed to live? Every time a house gets approved to get built around here or a side yard improvement to put another pool in, the snakes have nowhere to live. The hawk has nowhere to grab a rabbit from. Why do we need to develop that? Why can't it just be left alone? And if 20 years from now, we decide we need a park there or a preserve, then do it then. There's nothing wrong with leaving it just be wildlife. Why can't we have that? Because I've been here 16 years and every time I turn around there's a backhoe running somewhere, tearing something up. I moved to this town because I lived in Newtown Square and I watched Newtown Square get turned into frickin' brew mall. And now everybody came here because they like this town and they're slowly turning it into Newtown Square or somewhere else that it wasn't when I first came here. It stinks what's happening to this town. Why do we have to do that? And who decides? You guys are the only ones that decide what happens over there? Is that the deal? Yes or no?
We represent the community.
You're not representing me or Dave Miller.
You don't know how I'm voting.
I what?
You don't know how I'm voting, though.
You're right, I don't. But I have a sneaky feeling that it ain't gonna be with me or with him.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're ever looking at individuals here, right? So we're looking at we're trying to represent the entire population.
You're already approving a $34,000 expenditure for something that somebody else already drew wrong. How do we know this guy knows what he's drawing?
Well, that's not what we're doing here. It is a redesign because Nault is telling us now that they're not going to accept modifying their covenant. That's a change. There was an external factor outside of our control. The design was I really enjoyed the design that we had before. I thought it was great for everybody and a great compromise for the surrounding neighbors. Unfortunately, that's not the direction that Nault wants to go any longer.
What would be wrong with just tabling the whole thing for 20 years? Why do we have to do this?
The challenge is, and I understand your position, is that it's a cost and really the preservation thing I have to set aside, okay? Because deer, no one's kicking the deer out. No one's kicking the snakes out or the hawks, right? It's still gonna be 20 acres. We're only removing trees that are already affected and diseased. Okay, the wetlands that are there now are unsafe. So that's being fixed with proper wetlands. So to me, from a wildlife standpoint, essentially neutral. Now the cost, sure, you're a resident that does not want to spend the cost on the park, and I get that. And there's other people that would like to see the park where they can walk and enjoy the nature that you're speaking of. And that's my perspective. So to be clear, I would like to see a preserve that can be traversed by the entire community. And it's something that we don't have, and the township had already made the purchase. So rather than it be a protected forest for 40 or so neighbors that live immediately there, I'd like to see it enjoyed by the entire public. And I'm just one person on the board, but trying to answer you as genuinely as possible.
How much do you expect to spend on this whole thing from start to finish? Let me ask you that.
Total cost with or without grant money? You think you're asking all in?
All in, like, what's it gonna cost us?
Including the purchase price
Yeah.
of the property. So that was roughly $500,000. I think that the preliminary estimates that we've seen for construction are $1.25 million. And I think we spent close to maybe $150,000 on design services.
And what's it gonna cost annual upkeep?
I believe that annual upkeep would be minimal if we have paved parking areas and paved pathways. Because mowing services are already done by the highway and
Yeah, we're upkeeping it now.
tree removal is already required whether we use it as a preserve or not.
So you wanna pave hills?
Paved pathways.
Right, you wanna pave pathways.
And yes, I do want you to be mindful of the timing of this, of your particular comment. So I want to give you the opportunity.
I know, I'm coming up on 3 minutes, right?
Pass.
Yeah, which I also said no to that too. I didn't like that because how am I supposed to let you know my thoughts in 3 minutes or less? That's another thing I don't like about this board. I mean, nothing personal. I don't like the way you run your business, okay? Because I do live here and I pay taxes here and I drive up and down this road and I get rock chips on my thing and all these other things that irritate me. But 1.3 million. I just really think that everybody's quick to chop up the ground and they're not thinking about the future.
I appreciate that. I will say this isn't a new thing. This has been.
Oh, as long as I've known about it, I've been coming here and complaining about it. And I don't like it. I don't see any real use in it. Like, how many people do you expect to utilize this paved pathways?
I'm not the expert, right?
But you're the big guy. You're Chuck Denny. You're right in the middle here.
I'm on the board, but we've hired consultants, right?
I'm asking you, if you've hired consultants, what are their results? What have they told you? How many people do we expect to go there and traverse these paved hills?
Probably 24 visitors a day.
24.
Maybe more than that, maybe less than that.
That's a lot of money to make 24 people happy.
Well, it's not the same individuals every day, but yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 0 some days. I see all the parks in this town. I ride motorcycles, I drive my cars. I see who's there and I see who's not there. Are we gonna have restroom facilities? Yes?
It'll be.
Porta potties, yeah, like we do on all
Porta
our other
potties.
parks. The same as all the other parks.
And lighting?
There'll be, I think it's
Two,
solar
one, yeah, one at the, just one at the.
And how's that
parking lot.
going to affect the people that live next door with these lights at night?
They'll be shielded and shut off at late at night.
And is it going to be blocked off so people can't come in late at night
It
and
already
park
is
there?
now, yes.
Listen, I get what you want to do.
Mhm.
I understand what you're putting here. I just think some time should be let go by and really think about what you're doing before you chop it up and make what you think is right, because it's a whole lot of stuff. Every square inch of soil that you turn over is where a snake would live, or a mouse would run under, or a rabbit would live. And what's going to happen when 24 people a day are walking through there? Well, the deer can't sleep there, the deer can't hang out there because these people are there. And are they going to be flicking cigarettes and throwing water bottles? And who's picking that up? The kid with the free library? Is her crew going to come by there and pick it all up too? Or the scouts that stopped
The
doing
park will
it?
be maintained the way the rest of the parks are
Or the
maintained.
Parks and Recreation Committee that's sunk?
I have to ask you, I think you're over your time limit now. I apologize.
I think your time limit sucks.
You can give that to anybody else who spoke tonight.
Nobody
else spoke for this.
Okay, thank you. Please.
John Nevy, 3213 Sarah
Go.
Farm Lane. Yep. I haven't gone 8 minutes. Or 9 minutes, actually. So I have pointed out since the very first meeting with Simone back in 21, I forget when,
23 maybe?
23, I couldn't remember what year. It's been
was
several years.
23.
Yeah, it was 20 was still COVID-y. It was after COVID. I pointed out since that very first meeting that the property that you purchased has an extraordinarily strict covenant that runs with the land, that NALT has. I've told everyone in this committee about it, and I've said that when you go through it, it is extraordinarily detailed in terms of what is allowed, what is not allowed. You're not allowed to disperse, you're not allowed to make adjustments to, when you start to read it, you're not allowed to make adjustments to change the landscaping, to redesign how it's done. So the berms that we were discussing, and I pointed this out where, I know that there were a lot of people that kind of wanted the berms, but I said, I doubt it's going to be approved. The water management and the drainage system that you're talking about putting in that would require massive destruction of property and tearing things up, which is explicitly prohibited by the covenant. The paving systems that you keep talking about in terms of that, there are actually, as I've said to you publicly and privately, there are strict instructions within the covenant about what is allowed and what is not. And the tarmacs that we've talked about, that have been talked about being put in there, are, I believe, as I'm recalling, explicitly excluded by the covenant. The property that you're talking about in terms of that is outside of that land, there is it's not an easement. It is a very thin strip, about 12 feet wide enough for a driveway, not a roadway, which would be necessary to support a park and for the parking lot. I have deep concerns, and I've expressed these concerns repeatedly since 22, 23, whatever year we started with this, that no one, particularly the engineers, were taking a serious look at the covenant, serious look at the restrictions that the covenant presented to them, and incorporating those restrictions into the planning of what was going in there. So far, I've been proved pretty right. So we're standing here now, and NALT, and I may go a little bit over if it's acceptable, but NALT has rejected what was proposed. Now I've been told, and we've had discussions, that their restriction, that their concerns were mostly about the swapping of the land. Quite frankly, knowing the covenant, that should have been the least controversial part of what was being proposed, because it was a one-to-one swap of of taking property that is further back and deeper into the preserve, that actually has some of the most beautiful trees in the preserve on it, and putting that in the protection zone and taking the area closest to the street and putting that, in the area that, that's outside of the protected zone. If NALT's unwilling to do that, I had serious doubts that most of the other plans that were in the last version of the plans are going to be approved. I am almost certain that they are not going to, I'm pretty certain they're not going to approve any of the berms, any of the water management, any of the drainage systems and requirements that have been proposed into it, whether good or bad. And again, it's not I just want to state that I'm not saying whether any of this is good or bad. It just is. I don't think they're going to approve that. They're certainly not going to, given the explicitness of the requirements around the tarmacking and the types of paths that are allowed within the preserve, I doubt they're going to approve what was done there. I think there are going to be requirements in terms of the types of materials and things that are going to be utilized within this. And it also brings up questions about how you're actually going to be able to run construction in an area where you're not allowed to disturb the property. Again, I sit literally behind the area. I know Dr. Ming does as well. We sit behind the area that is, technically outside of the conservation easement, because it was I think there used to be a barn or something there, and he wanted the ability to put a new barn there if it was necessary for horses and things of that sort. It is a difficult area of the property. It's on a hillside, and it's going to be difficult to manage it and to do it, and particularly to do any construction work on it, because it's going to require, any construction is going to require that you have an area dedicated to allow for construction vehicles to go through, for dirt to be stored at. And the area that's there, it's going to be insufficient. So going into this where you are right now, you're about to spend another $35,000 on top of the $150,000 that we've spent so far on this. I would strongly advise that you take a look at the covenant, that you read through in detail what it's requiring, that you take what's in it very seriously, because it's very clear that NALT's is going to be taking it very, very seriously. And understand what that does and how that will impact the costs, how that will impact the feasibility of what's being proposed. I actually still stand here believing, I seriously doubt that you're gonna be able to put parking into the area that you're proposing. Because I don't think you're gonna have a sufficient land to allow for construction. I don't know that the driveway that is allowed to be back there per the NALT agreement is gonna be sufficient to meet the requirements that you're gonna need to meet to put a road in there to parking. I've raised concerns about where it's located in terms of that driveway coming out onto the road, and I know I'm going.
Yeah,
So,
I'd ask you to wrap it up, please.
So I'll wrap it up here with that and just saying, just saying, please keep that in mind. Please make, and I would advise that you take a hard look at this and make you start to make some serious decisions as to whether or not what you've purchased is, what you want to do with what you've purchased is feasible, given the legal restrictions that you're working under. Because I don't think they are. And I think that, I think you're going to find yourself walking into a wall and running into this same situation over and over and over again. Because I know what's in that covenant, and I know, and I've been saying for several years, please read through the covenant, because it's going to, what you think you can do, you probably can't. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I just would like to say, NALT, this wasn't done in a vacuum. NALT saw the prior plans, took no exception to the pathways or stormwater. And it's only now recently become this new thing. Hopefully, if they have an issue with that stuff, it's coming out as part of this redesign. But I haven't seen any correspondence from them saying that there was an issue with some of the other things.
No, but I mean, they'll take it and put it in front of their board and make sure that it complies with the covenant. Once we send them, a plan, they've looked at all the drafts we had, they saw the most recent design iteration and were amenable to the amendment at that time. So.
Can you bring up page 96 of the packet, please?
96?
Yes. First of all, Diane Smith, 1602 Wendy Way.
Your 96 might be different from mine.
Well, the last page, the Chester Valley with all the details of what the 34,000. I'm just gonna go back to the survey that a lot of people signed up for, that they just wanted a simple preserve, nothing, hardly anything done. Keep it, preserve it the way it is. That's what a preserve should be. And there were over 700 people who signed that in a very short amount of time. Because, the gentleman before me was saying, the people don't want this, and there's part of the proof of that. So anyway, I'm going to move on because this is such a limited thing. Chuck, you said something about that they're not going to need water, some changes if they move the parking lot, if they make it go back to the conservation agreement. And you said they wouldn't need stormwater design, they wouldn't need to grading and erosion revisions. They need, I don't know about the.
If I said that, that's not how I intended it to be said. What I meant to say was they took no exception. There would have to be no redesign.
Well, no reason, but that's what NALT seems to be
No,
charging.
I think what Chuck said was that the only thing that's changing is the location of the parking lot.
Right, so
The
why are these
concept-
charges?
Because they have to redo the design, the grading, the stormwater, but
All this stuff for the,
related to the parking lot, yes, there was a stormwater system just for the parking lot in the
Uh-huh.
original design.
it just seems
Now it has to
excessive.
shift because the parking lot is shifting, so that all has to change.
I mean, there's just a lot of costs in here, and then, has anyone put in the permit to the MPDES yet?
Mm-mm.
Then what do we need to pay $6,700 to apply, to revise an application that hasn't been submitted yet? I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of padding in here. Once I'm going back to the numbers, because that's my comfort zone. But, and then what's this
Pennsylvania Historical Commission clear, what is that?
Yeah, so when you submit an NPDS permit, it's a requirement to submit the historical commission.
Uh-huh, and then the Conservation District that they refer to, is
Yep.
that Nault?
No, that's Delaware County Conservation District. They oversee earth moving for projects in the county.
Earth moving, which Nault probably will not approve because it goes against their conservation agreement. I mean, like Mr. Nevi said, they should not approve any of this. I mean, really, the covenant is very strong about this, and this shouldn't be, none of this should be approved. Who is going to determine the archaeology? That's another 24,000, which you said you're not going to approve tonight, but who gets to determine that?
Pennsylvania DEP will determine whether that's.
Whether they need that. So
Yes.
now we're doing archaeology digs.
It's not a dig necessarily.
Well, 24, it seems ridiculous. When is this going to stop? I mean, what is the timeline to finalize? So we, as a township or we finalize the plan, then we submit it to Nault after the fact. And then Nault's gonna have changes. Then we gotta go right back to the engineers and spend the money again. It's just circle after circle after circle. It seems like a very unorganized way to run this. I mean, I don't understand why we can't get Nault's, having them work with us.
They have been working with us.
Really?
Yes.
Not heard that. This 30,000, you says it's gonna be a wash? Now, 10,000 of it was for what?
10,000 was for a kind of a contribution to
Mhm.
Nault.
You don't
to
think we're
maintain
gonna
the-
have to make that again?
No,
So-
he said.
And then the 20,000 was to make work,
For them to review their legal team and everything else that needs to, it's gotta go in front of their board and.
You don't think we're gonna be billed for that
He
anyway?
said we would not be billed. I talked to him. He said we would not be billed for
And
that.
who is him?
Steve Carter.
Steve Carter of Nault said this, so we would not. be
Because we're not
charged with it.
we're not amending the agreement. If you're
So-
amending the agreement, it's pages and pages. You've seen the conservation easement. It takes the lawyers to go through all that. So because we don't have to do that,
I mean,
those funds are not necessary.
It's good news that they're standing firm and that they're gonna stand by this conservation easement. I think it empowers us even more that shouldn't happen. I mean, I
I mean,
don't
they do
know.
come out, and I've said this before, they do come out every single year and they monitor that easement. They take pictures.
I know
They do
they
a
do.
report,
That's part
They
of their
take, they
job.
do take it seriously.
Well, they do, and
Yeah.
they should. I mean, this is important. And I think you're ignoring all that, thinking you're gonna maybe get them to change their minds. And, they shouldn't. And I'm very happy to hear that they're gonna stand firm about this. So I guess I had a lot of questions about this. I think you're gonna doing this once again out of order. We're paying Chester Engineering to do all this work. Once again, and I don't think Nault's gonna approve any of this stuff. So when does it end? When is it? Somebody said a few months ago, a bridge too far. When is this a bridge too far? That we're spending too much money. I mean, right now, according to your thing on your website, you're over budget. I mean, what if you don't get any of these grants? And you're just spending money after money after money on these grants right now on your website. And I don't know how up to date this is, but you're 66,000 over what we've received in grants. It's your own website on your own webpage. You're 66 over, and other people disagree with those numbers. Some people think we spent a lot more than that, but I'm just gonna go off what you guys have reported. And now you want 66,000, you want another 34,000 to put on that. It's $100,000. What? And probably that number is a lot higher than that number, but why are you spending so much money on this when it probably is gonna be a no-go?
What, I don't understand why you say it's probably going to be.
Well, Nault just shut it down. I mean, I can't.
No, they didn't. So let's talk about what Nault has said. They've said that they do not want to amend the conservation easement to allow parking. Now, I haven't agreed with Mr. Nevin. I think that parking was pretty innocuous. Nonetheless, I've been through this concert. I agree with you on that piece, John. I've been through this conservation easement. I think that people are reading it incorrectly. There's a long list of things that you can't do. And then it says, but you can do these things, notwithstanding those things. I think that aside from the parking, what's planned is permissible under the conservation. I've been in touch with Knott's lawyers. The only thing that they've raised with me is the park. So the persistent statement that, well, they're gonna say no. Well, I don't think that's true. I think if we're using that as our base for our logic, that's flawed logic, right?
Can we get Knowlton here to tell us this stuff?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's
Maybe.
Steve. Once they see the revised plan to come in and have a conversation,
Yeah.
sure he'd be open to that.
What about the what?
If we got enough to come in before we spend $34,000, that would make more sense to have them come in here and talk to us and explain to us what can and can't be done before we pay all this money, after having paid all this other money.
I mean, in the future, we'll try to come up for those comments, but Nault's telling us, hey, we take no exception to everything else. Please revise the parking. This is the agency that's going to eventually accept it and have to be the conservator. You're saying to me that maybe I shouldn't take what they're saying as fact, but that's the way we have to transact.
But we don't know
And
that.
that if the person who says that I'm going to be the conservator tells us, do this, everything else is okay, I'm going to go with that because that's what they do every day. They do this every municipality. And as far as development for parking and pathways, I would say the overwhelming majority of the areas that they conserve have parking areas that had to be constructed, that had heavy equipment, that have stormwater controls, because they are being developed with taxpayer money for the intent for taxpayer enjoyment. And then with respect to the things being out of order, this is the order. We're at the pre-permit stage. We need to get the drawings to permit. When they go to permit review, it's the exact same coincident time that Knott will be reviewing the permit set. They do not want to review a pre-permit set because there's a potential that permit comments might impact it. So there's this symbiosis that happens at this stage. And if I'm wrong, then
You're
maybe
right.
you
No,
can tell
you're
me
right.
that
That's how it
the
goes.
process is different. But that's also the way that this normally happens. It is unfortunate that we have to go back and have a redesign. It is unfortunate that Knott changed their mind. That was out of our control. Yes, I understand that's a reaction. Knott told us everything looks good. Sounds great. Get these to final design. So that's.
I mean, this is the first time hearing that Knoll ever said that Knoll ever said everything was okay. That was the very first time. I've been standing up here for 3 years or how many, I don't know how long. It's the first time you guys have ever said to me, Knott's good with everything. I guarantee they're good with everything. I mean, you're promising me that they're good with everything. You know, now you say they've changed their mind about the parking of everything, but this is really, I mean, I'm really shocked. I'm surprised. A lot of people probably are also that. I know I'm over my time. I don't know. I just, once again, feel like this is just, it's too much. Frankly, it's ridiculous, all the things that you want to do there. And I find it hard. I do still find it hard to believe that Knoll would agree to asphalt walkways. I mean, that goes, you know, that I know that says in the covenant they're not allowed, but I guess we'll have Knoll here and they can tell the public what they think is so great about this plan. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
My name is Deb DeSandro, 1654 Hans Lane. There have been some discussion and about the Schaefer project, and they keep referring to the board, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I think we have to look at the history of this Schaefer Preserve. And it goes back to either 2022 or 2023, when it was a 10-year long-range planning commission had to be done. It had been done for like 16 years or so. It was due. So at that time, a questionnaire or survey was submitted on the website at the township for all residents to, you know, voice their concerns. And it started off with financial, you know, your age, you know, what kind of home you lived in. And I think part of that happened to address Park and Recs and the Schaefer project. Was asking what you wanted from, Bethel Township, more stores, more residential communities, and so on. And at that time, the people that responded really wanted more parks, more places to enjoy themselves. Okay, so unfortunately, not a lot of people, responded to the survey and filled it out. However, with that response, the board from those years on started to address those residents' concerns. And we have since, had multiple meetings, and there's been a large portion of people that attend that the board meetings that are not in favor of the development of Schaefer Preserve. However, our community is about, 10,000 people. So I think, there are people that don't attend, but, they still want a park rather than just like Schaefer Park, Jack King Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have Donna Van, 1612 Lenny Way. I have one question. At a meeting at the end of last year, I gave a letter to all of you that said to you that Nault had not received money from us. And you said that is correct. First, you said to me that you didn't believe me. Then I showed you the email from Mr. Carter stating that he had never taken a dime that he'd never even offered a dime. And then you said that $10,000 was for this and then another 20,000 was for that. So where is that money? And you said we wrote the checks, but we never mailed them out. So now tell me, did you mail it out or didn't? So they haven't been.
We never wrote the checks. I never said that. We approved to engage with Nault to amend the easement for that amount of money. There was never a check written. And it was never sent.
And I proved to you in writing from Mr. Carter.
But he has not received any
That was
money.
not true.
But he has
So
not.
that's why I'm not, you have the letter, Stephanie.
No, I
gave
understand.
it to all of you.
He has not received money
Right.
because we have not sent him money
Right.
because they haven't
And it
formally
said-
started
and it
their
said in
process.
there- And it said in there that he has not engaged with you. He has not spoken with you. He doesn't even know what I'm talking about. Which is why legal counsel is now being, as you know, several of us have gotten legal counsel. This will be in court for a very long time. And I've also, here's my question. First of all, I appreciate about the survey. That survey, as you know, was down half the time. People couldn't get into it. So it really wasn't a viable thing. We have a petition that went around in under 2 weeks, got over 700 signatures that you all saw. We gave it to you. That the money that your CPA said today, you're $132,000 over. And I quote, must keep an eye on this. No offense, Pete. Must keep an eye on this. But yet here we go with $34,000 more going out. That's going to raise that to another, that's going to be $170,000. And I think that maybe the person that sent the letter to everyone in the township needs to send that letter again.
Thank you.
Erica Brignac, 1440 Namens Creek Road. I was just wondering, because I've reiterated this point before, but I wanted to make sure that everybody understands that the Schaefer property was purchased by a board that was prior to the current board, right? Like 1, 2, 3 members of this board were not even on that board when that purchase was being made. When that purchase was being made, and I was at the board meeting that Dr. Schaefer was at, he specifically said that he was willing to sell the property to the township if it were to be made into a space that the entire township could enjoy. So at that time, the board went ahead and bought the land. I don't remember anybody complaining at that time about that. Now that the current board is following through on what the previous board agreed to and spent money on, there seems to be a lot of dispute. I understand that some people in the township don't want the preserve. I am one of the people that does want the preserve. I think it'll be a great place to exercise. I think it'll be a wonderful place to look at our natural wildlife and habitats. And I think it'll be I'm a little bit, I wish it was going to be a larger path. I understand, I've been coming to these meetings and I understand the need for the paved path so that it is less costly to maintain. And so that it is ADA approved, which is important so that everybody in our township can enjoy the preserve. So I just wanted to put some things in context here. And then I'm wondering, for those who are so worried about us paying all this money and raising taxes or spending money that we're over budget, we also have more in reserves than we have had in prior board years. And I'm wondering if taxes are that much of an issue, then if we were to not do the project, why not sell the land to a developer, have them build homes to help ease the tax burden so that we get more taxes come in, and then we'll have more money, the township will have more money, and if these people aren't going to be using the preserve anyway, then maybe, you know, if you are going to scrap the project, which I hope you don't, because I also believe that green space is important, that people can enjoy, then maybe we should just look at the other idea and keep the taxes low by increasing our residential, footprint and being able to raise more taxes by
Yeah.
more homes.
And I don't think that's not a possibility there because of the easement. I understand that, but the rest of your sentiment, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up and thank you for your time.
Yep. Yeah. So again, it wouldn't be sold to a developer, but
I just want to make one comment on her comment. When Dr. Schaefer said.
And just try to address us.
Okay, but
Yeah.
when Dr. Schaefer said that he wants the township people to enjoy the land, I personally would enjoy it. Riding by and just looking at trees, not a proposed house,
But
not
please address
anything
me.
else.
Please address.
Okay, that's all. I think knowing that animals can live there is wonderful. And the other question is, who's going to open and close the gate every day?
The police department
The
currently
police,
does
oh,
that.
so now it's great. All right, thank you.
Is there any other comment from the public? Please.
I got a fractured foot, my 3 minutes don't start from here, right?
Correct. If it's hard for you to get up here, if you want to do it there, it's okay.
We need to get up there with the hip replacement, you get up there. Actually, if I had good insurance, I'd probably have a cast on my foot. James McDaniel, 1415 Zebby Road East, Claymont side. That's not the rich side. That's not the $1 million side. When you talk about the vote or whatever it was a good while back, I didn't know about it. I don't think a lot of people knew about it. A lot of people don't have time to come home and get on the internet. I think back in them days, I was working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wonder now, with the taxes the way they are, how many people would want it now? I think I said a long time ago at this meeting, you should take another vote. Next thing, I called the chief the other day and I told him to bring his whistle. So when I get long-winded, he told me tonight he knows his whistle. how many more change orders are you gonna have? This parking that you're changing for the second time, how many cars are you gonna park there?
The original law was
I don't
12
care
or
what it was, I'm
16.
talking about now.
Well, we have to redesign it, so we'll have to see what.
So you don't even know how many cars are gonna be there. Is the next step gonna take, you're gonna put a process in to take people's land so you can put more cars in? All them people that bought the houses there, you're gonna earn a domain and take their property so you can put more cars in? Is that the next step? Because everything you do is real quiet around here. I don't, the gentleman's going now, the library guy. I'm all about education. He mentioned about a figure that Concord Township had. Bethel Township don't have the tax base that Concord Township has. We don't have the business. You tried to put in a business tax last month and you couldn't even figure out how many businesses were in the township. So, you know, money's falling on the people. So I think if you put this up for another vote, the way the tax bills are just about double around here for what you're getting, I don't know if it would fly the second time. And the other thing, it was a questionnaire. It wasn't a vote. It was a questionnaire. Maybe you ought to put it on referendum or something. But you're in neck deep in debt. And debt don't go away easy. I don't know why you don't bring no, whatever her name is. No, just go with what they tell you. And why try fighting them? You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win. No, because you know why? You got an open checkbook. It's our money you're burning up. People like me, gentleman's back there. There's other people who don't have the time to come to these meetings. You're burning their money up. I said before, disgust. I'm done.
Any other?
A lot of us don't live in $1 million homes. You know that? Just like, I'm not gonna single people out. A lot of us don't have $1 million homes. We work every day. I'm retired. I was lucky. I worked for a refinery. And that Sun Oil sludge pond, you know where that all that stuff came from, that pond? All them tanks were in that area up there with rain. Somebody opens the line up. All that stuff's in that bottom of that pond. Have you ever taken a core sample out of the bottom of that pond?
I have not taken a core sample.
Maybe you ought to get a check before people put their hands in it.
They actually did do that before.
Yeah, what'd they find?
They wouldn't let us put anything that we could walk on it. They wouldn't let us walk on it.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the houses.
Yeah. Oh, them houses have basements?
Is there any other comment? Please make it brief.
Good morning. Deputy Sandro, 1654 Hance Lane. I just wanted to thank the presenters, the chief of police, fire chief, numerous people, our representative from the high school for their visual slides. I think important part is comprehending, you know, what is happening at these meetings, and to be able to follow it visually as well as, you know, auditorily is great. So keep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any discussion from the board on this?
I just wanted to mention that my property abuts the side where the driveway is going to be. And that is going to impact the vote that I give.
Okay. Okay, with that, did I make the motion already?
I don't know that you did.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to authorize Chester Valley Engineers to prepare a design revision for the Schaefer Preserve parking area relocation in amount not to exceed $34,820.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded by Supervisor Iacono. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Us.
Motion carries.
Us. We vote.
Okay, moving on to announcements.
I think that's you.
Oh, that's me. So Bethel Township's e-recycling event is scheduled for Saturday from 9 to 11 behind the Myers Building. Residents are encouraged to visit the township website and social media pages for a complete list of accepted items. And-
Before you move on, just real quick, and it's posted here, but there may be some items that we're not gonna be able to accept this year because we have Upton Acre doing the recycling, so please take a look at the list and make sure you review it before you bring your recyclables.
Right, it's a different list.
It has a different list.
And then as we've talked about, the annual 4th of July fireworks will be held on Friday, July 3rd, at
It'll be a
Bethel Springs.
cold
Elementary.
day.
And then the rain date is, Sunday, July 5th.
One additional announcement, several organizations within Bethel Township were part of the annual Delco Gives fundraising campaign. And from that campaign, Bethel Hose was able to generate $5,554 from 40 donors. Rachel Cole Library received about $2,000 from 55 donors. And Loaves of Love Food Pantry located at Siloam Church raised a little over $2,000 from 25 donors.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Is there any other public comment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
And I will second.